The nightmare always ended the same way, with blood on her hands and the taste of raw meat in her mouth. Sera Whitmore jolted awake in her apartment above the antique shop, her silk sheets tangled around her legs like restraints. Her hands trembled as she reached for the lamp, and in the sudden flood of light, she saw them. 4 parallel scratches across her forearm, angry and red, as if something with claws had raked her skin from the inside out. She'd gone to bed unmarked. She was certain of it. "Not again," she whispered, her voice cracking in the pre-dawn silence. This was the 3rd time this week. 3 mornings of waking to wounds that shouldn't exist, to dreams that felt more like memories of a life she'd never lived. In those dreams, she ran through ancient forests on 4 legs, her heart pounding with a predator's joy, hunting beneath a moon so large it seemed to swallow the sky. Sera stumbled to the bathroom and studied her reflection with growing dread. Her eyes, normally a soft hazel, flickered with an amber glow before returning to normal. She blinked hard, leaning closer to the mirror. For just a moment, she could have sworn she saw something else staring back. A wolf with golden eyes and silver-streaked fur. She splashed cold water on her face, trying to ground herself in reality. She was Sera Whitmore, 28 years old, owner of Whitmore Antiquities, a woman who restored beautiful old things and lived a quiet, carefully ordered life. She didn't believe in curses or monsters, or her phone buzzed. A text from her assistant: "Found something weird in that estate sale shipment. Come see when you can." Sera glanced at the clock, 5:47 a.m. Too early to be normal, but sleep was impossible now anyway. Life before the curse had been beautiful in its simplicity. Sera had spent that sunny afternoon in her shop, carefully cleaning a Victorian mirror frame while classical music drifted from the speakers. Her world smelled of lemon oil, old wood, and the coffee from the cafe next door. Customers browsed the carefully curated collection of furniture, jewelry, and oddities she'd gathered from estate sales across New England. "This is gorgeous," a customer had said, admiring an Art Deco lamp. "You have such an eye for this." Sera had smiled, pride warming her chest. This was her sanctuary, built piece by piece after years of hard work. No family to speak of. Her grandmother had died when Sera was 19, but she'd created something meaningful from nothing. That evening, she'd walked home through Boston's historic streets, stopping to buy flowers from her favorite vendor, waving to the bookshop owner closing up for the night. Her phone had buzzed with a date invitation from Marcus, the architect she'd been seeing casually. Life had felt full of gentle possibility. She remembered thinking, "I'm happy. Actually, genuinely happy." That was 3 weeks ago, before the estate sale in Salem, before she'd acquired the items from the Ashford collection, before the nightmares began. Now, standing in her dark apartment with unexplained wounds on her skin and something feral waking inside her, that happiness felt like a memory from someone else's life. By the time Sera reached her shop, the sun was just beginning to rise, painting the brick buildings in shades of gold and amber. She unlocked the door and found her assistant, Maya, waiting with an anxious expression and a cardboard box on the counter. "I was cataloging the Ashford estate items," Maya said without preamble, "and I found this hidden in a false bottom of that traveling trunk." She lifted out an object wrapped in rotting velvet. When the fabric fell away, Sera's breath caught. It was a collar, but not the kind meant for a pet. This was clearly designed for a human neck, made of tarnished silver engraved with symbols that seemed to writhe in the morning light. The metalwork was exquisite and disturbing, depicting wolves in various stages of transformation, beast to human, human to beast, locked in an eternal cycle. The moment Sera's fingers brushed the metal, pain exploded through her arm. She gasped and jerked back, but not before she saw it. A vision of a woman screaming as the collar was locked around her neck, of a man with eyes like winter storms speaking words in a language that tasted of blood and moonlight, of a curse being born from betrayal and grief. "Sera?" Maya grabbed her shoulder. "Are you okay? You went completely white." Sera clutched the counter, her heart hammering. The scratches on her arm burned beneath her sleeve. "Did you feel anything when you touched it?" "No, just cold metal." "Why?" "Because something is happening to me," Sera wanted to scream. "Because I'm changing into something I don't understand, and I have maybe weeks, maybe days before I lose myself completely." Instead, she forced a smile. Just gave me the creeps. Let's put it in the back for now. But as Maya carried the collar away, Sera heard it, a whisper in her mind, in that same ancient language from her vision. And somehow, impossibly, she understood the words. 30 days until the blood moon. 30 days until the debt is paid. The doctor's office smelled like antiseptic and false reassurance. Miss Whitmore, your blood work is completely normal, Dr. Richardson said, reviewing her chart with a patient smile. Blood pressure's a bit elevated. Have you been under unusual pressure lately? Self-inflicted. Sera wanted to laugh. She'd woken up this morning with her hands tied to the bedposts with scarves, a desperate attempt to prove she wasn't hurting herself, and still found new marks across her collarbone. I didn't make these scratches, she said firmly. Sometimes, with parasomnia or certain sleep disorders, people can... I'm not hurting myself in my sleep. Her voice came out sharper than intended, almost a growl. Dr. Richardson leaned back slightly, and Sera caught a whiff of his fear, sharp and acrid. When had her sense of smell become so acute? I'm going to recommend a sleep study, the doctor said carefully, and perhaps a consultation with a therapist who specializes in... Sera left before he could finish. That evening, she tried a different approach. The psychic's shop in Cambridge was tucked between a vintage clothing store and a Thai restaurant, its window display featuring crystals, tarot cards, and a neon eye that flickered in the growing dusk. The woman who greeted her, Madame Celeste, according to the sign, had kind eyes and silver-streaked hair. She took one look at Sera and her expression shifted from welcoming to concerned. Sit, she said, gesturing to a small table. Give me your hands. The moment their skin connected, Madame Celeste gasped and pulled away. What? Sera demanded. What did you see? You're marked. The psychic's voice was barely a whisper. Ancient magic, powerful and cruel. I've never felt anything like this. Finally, someone who believed her. Can you help me? Can you remove it? Madame Celeste stood abruptly, shaking her head. This is beyond my abilities. This is old blood magic, the kind that requires sacrifice and death to create, to break it. She trailed off, looking genuinely frightened. Child, you need to find whoever cast this curse. Only they can end it, and I'm not sure they will. But I don't know who. Then I suggest you find out, quickly. The psychic pressed a card into Sera's hand, not her own business card, but something else, yellowed with age. This is all I can offer. A name. He deals with unusual situations, but be careful. Men who hunt monsters sometimes become them. Sera looked down at the card. Written in faded ink was a single name and a phone number. Dominic Ashford. Her blood ran cold. Ashford. The same name as the estate sale. The same name engraved on the silver collar's interior, which she'd discovered just that afternoon when examining it more closely. This wasn't coincidence. This was fate tightening its noose. That night, Sera stood in her apartment surrounded by printouts, old books from her shop's collection, and her grandmother's journal, the one she'd found weeks ago but hadn't fully read until now. The entries were sporadic, written in her grandmother's elegant hand. The women of our line carry a burden we don't speak of. My mother told me before she died, every 5th generation, the blood awakens. I prayed it would skip me, skip my daughter, skip my granddaughter, but I see the signs now. The dreams have started. Sera's hands shook as she flipped forward. If you're reading this, my dear Sera, then I failed to protect you. The curse that haunts our bloodline began 200 years ago with your ancestor, Charlotte Whitmore. She betrayed a werewolf pack, killed their alpha's mate for reasons lost to time. In his grief, he cursed Charlotte's line. Every 5th generation, a daughter will transform under the blood moon, become a beast, and die. I am the 4th generation. You are the 5th. I'm so sorry. I thought if I never told you, if I kept you ignorant, perhaps the curse would pass you by. But magic doesn't forget. It waits. The journal entry was dated 3 months before her grandmother's death. At the bottom, written in shakier handwriting as if added in haste, the Ashford family holds the key. They are descendants of the alpha who cursed us. Find them. They're the only ones who might know how to break it. But be careful. They may want you dead instead. Sera looked at the card Madame Celeste had given her. Dominic Ashford. Her phone showed the time. 11:47 p.m. 29 days until the blood moon, according to the lunar calendar she'd frantically consulted. 29 days to find answers, to break an unbreakable curse, to somehow claw her way back from the edge of becoming a monster. In the window's reflection, her eyes flashed gold. With trembling fingers, she dialed the number on the card. It rang once, twice. On the third ring, a man's voice answered, deep, rough, guarded. "Who is this?" "My name is Sera Whitmore," she said, her voice surprisingly steady. "And I think your family cursed mine. I need your help, or in 29 days, I'm going to die." There was a long pause. Then, "Stay where you are. I'm coming to you." The line went dead. Sera sat in the darkness of her apartment, listening to the city sounds outside, feeling the wolf stirring beneath her skin. Somewhere in the night, a man who might be her salvation or her executioner was coming for her. The countdown had begun. Dominic Ashford appeared at her shop the next morning like a storm made flesh. Sera had spent the night researching, dozing fitfully in the chair by her window, jerking awake every time her dreams turned to blood and moonlight. When the bell above her door chimed at exactly 9 a.m., she knew instinctively who it was. He was tall, over 6 feet, with dark hair that fell past his collar and eyes the color of a winter forest, gray-green and impossibly sharp. Scars traced his jawline and disappeared beneath the collar of his black coat. He moved with a predator's grace, and when those eyes locked onto her, Sera felt pinned in place. Sera Whitmore. It wasn't a question. Dominic Ashford. She stood her ground, even though every instinct screamed at her to run or attack. She couldn't tell which. He crossed the shop in 3 strides, invading her space with no regard for social niceties. Before she could protest, he grabbed her wrist and pushed up her sleeve, revealing the scratches that had appeared fresh that morning. The moment his skin touched hers, everything exploded. Pain lanced through her arm like lightning. Sera cried out and tried to jerk away, but Dominic's grip was iron. His eyes widened, and she saw shock register on his face. He felt it too, whatever this was. The scratches on her arm blazed with silver light, and for a heartbeat, she saw matching marks appear on his skin, glowing and burning before fading away. He released her abruptly, stumbling back. "Christ, it's real. You're really—" He ran a hand through his hair, and she saw his fingers trembling. "When you called, I thought you might be a fraud, someone looking for money, using my family name. But this," he gestured at her arm, his expression haunted, "you're the 5th generation. You know about the curse." Relief and terror warred in her chest. "I've known about it my whole life." His voice was rough. "I've been preparing for it, searching for you, but I didn't expect." He cut himself off, jaw clenching. "We need to talk. Somewhere private, your apartment?" Sera hesitated. Everything about this man screamed danger. The scars, the intensity, the way he looked at her like she was both prey and puzzle. But she had 28 days left, and he was the only lead she had. "Follow me." In her apartment, surrounded by her research and her grandmother's journal, Dominic told her the story she'd been dreading. 200 years ago, your ancestor Charlotte Whitmore killed my ancestor's mate, a woman named Iris. He paced as he spoke, unable to stay still. My ancestor, Nathaniel Ashford, was the alpha of one of the most powerful werewolf packs in North America. Iris was human, but she was his chosen mate, his everything. When she died, he lost his mind, Sera finished quietly. Worse, he lost his humanity. Dominic stopped at her window, his back to her. Nathaniel was consumed by grief and rage. He tracked Charlotte down and cursed her bloodline with the darkest magic he knew. Every 5th generation, a daughter would carry the latent wolf gene. On her 28th year, under the blood moon, she would transform, but without a pack, without an alpha to guide the change, the transformation would tear her apart from the inside out. She'd become a mindless beast for 3 days, and then she'd die. Sera's breath came short and sharp. 3 days? The curse is designed to be cruel. He finally turned to face her, and the pain in his eyes was centuries old. You'll lose your humanity, attack anyone near you, and then your body will simply give out. The transformation is too much for a human frame to handle without pack bonds to stabilize it. There has to be a way to break it. If there is, I haven't found it. He moved closer, studying her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. I've spent my entire life searching. My father searched before me, and his mother before him. The Ashford line has been cursed too, in a way. We're bound to this cycle of guilt and atonement. We inherit Nathaniel's knowledge, his strength, but also his burden. What do you mean, his strength? Dominic's expression darkened. I'm a werewolf, Sera, or something close to it. Nathaniel's curse didn't just affect your family. When he poured that much dark magic into revenge, it corrupted his own bloodline. His descendants can't fully transform. We're stuck between human and wolf in constant pain, never belonging to either world. He pulled up his sleeve, revealing scars that covered his forearm, dozens of them, layered and old. Every full moon, my body tries to change and can't. It's been this way since I was 13. The only thing that's kept me sane is the knowledge that I could end this, that I could find the fifth-generation daughter and fulfill my family's duty. Sera went very still. What duty? To kill you before the transformation completes. He said it without inflection. A simple fact. That's what my father taught me. What his mother taught him. That if the cursed daughter dies before the blood moon, she dies human. It's considered a mercy. The room felt too small suddenly, the air too thin. And is that why you're here? To kill me? Dominic was silent for a long moment. Then he moved, closing the distance between them until he was close enough that she could see the gold flecks in his gray-green eyes, could smell pine and smoke and something wild on his skin. I was, he said softly. I've been tracking your family for 3 years, waiting for the signs to appear. When you called last night, I came prepared to end this quickly, painlessly. But then I touched you, and I felt... He stopped, jaw working. Felt what? The bond. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. The curse connected our bloodlines in ways I never understood until this moment. When I touched you, I felt your wolf, and she felt me. That's not supposed to be possible. Sera's heart hammered. What does that mean? It means, Dominic said, that maybe, there's another way, a way that doesn't end with your death. Tell me. We need to find Nathaniel's burial site. According to the oldest texts my family preserved, the curse was bound to a physical anchor, something he wore or carried when he cast it. If we can find that anchor and destroy it during the blood moon, we might be able to break the curse instead of just letting it run its course. Hope flared in Sera's chest, bright and desperate. Where is he buried? The Carpathian Mountains, Romania. It's where he fled after cursing Charlotte, where he eventually died, alone and mad with grief. Dominic pulled out his phone, showing her a map dotted with notes and markers. I've narrowed it down to 3 possible locations, but I've never had the courage to search them, because finding the anchor means acknowledging there might be hope. And hope. Hope is dangerous, Sera finished. Yes. He looked at her, and something in his expression made her breath catch. But you're real now. Not just a name in an old book, not just a duty to fulfill. You're standing here, fighting for your life, and I can't. He shook his head. I can't just kill you and call it mercy. Not anymore. So we go to Romania. It's going to be dangerous. Other werewolves will sense your awakening. You're an abomination to them, a cursed thing. And the transformation will get worse the closer we get to the blood moon. Your instincts will become harder to control. You might hurt someone. You might hurt me. And if we don't go, then in 28 days, you die, everyone in a 3-block radius. Sera thought of her shop, her carefully built life, the customers who smiled at her and the neighbors who waved. She thought of Maya, who didn't deserve to die because her boss was turning into a monster. When do we leave? Dominic's expression shifted. Surprise, respect, and something else she couldn't name. Tomorrow. I need to arrange a few things first. And Sera? Yes. Pack light. Where we're going, your old life can't follow. That night, Sera learned what it meant to lose control. She'd gone to bed early, exhausted from the day's revelations and the weight of what lay ahead. But sleep brought no relief. The dreams were worse than ever, vivid and visceral, full of the taste of blood and the joy of the hunt. In the dream, she wasn't Sera anymore. She was Wolf, pure and simple, running through snow-covered forests beneath a moon so bright it hurt. She could smell everything. Deer in the valley below, smoke from distant villages, and beneath it all, the scent of another predator. Male, powerful, challenging her territory. She snarled and followed the scent, ready to fight, ready to... Sera woke to the sound of shattering glass. She was standing in her living room, her hand bleeding from where she'd punched through the window. Her reflection in the remaining shards showed eyes that glowed gold, teeth that were too sharp, fingernails that had become claws. "No," she whispered, but her voice came out wrong, too deep, almost a growl. The wolf was rising. In 28 days, it would consume her completely. But right now, in this moment, it wanted out. It wanted to run, to hunt, to find the male wolf whose scent had filled her dreams and either kill him or... The thought that followed made her stagger back in horror. A knock at the door made her spin, snarling. "Sera," Dominic's voice, calm and steady. "I can smell the blood. Let me in." She couldn't speak. Her throat wouldn't form words anymore, only growls. "I'm coming in. Don't attack me, please." The door opened, he must have picked the lock, and Dominic entered slowly, hands visible, posture non-threatening. But his eyes were glowing too, that same gold, and she could see the wolf in him rising to meet hers. "That's it," he said softly, moving closer with careful, measured steps. "I know it hurts. I know you're scared. But you're stronger than this. You can fight it back." Sera shook her head violently. She couldn't. The wolf was too strong, too hungry. It wanted to tear into him, to test his strength, to... Dominic was suddenly there, his hands cupping her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Listen to my voice," he commanded, and power thrummed through the words. Alpha power, the kind that made wolves submit or challenge. "You are Sera Whitmore. You are human. The wolf is a part of you, but it doesn't own you. Not yet. Fight, Sera. Fight." She whimpered, a sound no human throat should make. "I know," he murmured, and his thumb stroked her cheekbones with surprising gentleness. "I know it's agony. I live with this every day. This half-transformation, this creature trying to claw its way out. But you're not alone anymore. I'm here. Let me help you." And then he did something that should have been terrifying, but instead felt like salvation. He pulled her against his chest and began speaking in that ancient language, the one from her visions. The words were lyrical and strange, and they resonated in her bones like a lullaby made of moonlight. Slowly, impossibly, the wolf began to recede. Her claws retracted. Her teeth dulled. Her eyes faded from gold to hazel. She collapsed against him, shaking, fully human again. "What?" She had to stop and clear her throat. "What did you say?" "An old pack song. Something alphas use to calm frightened wolves." His arms remained around her, steady and warm. "It shouldn't have worked on you. You're not pack, and I'm not really an alpha. But the curse bound us in strange ways." Sera looked up at him, and in the dim light of her apartment, she saw the truth written in his scarred face. He'd been alone with this burden his entire life, trapped between two worlds, and now, finally, he'd found someone who understood. "Thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me yet. This is only going to get worse." But he didn't let her go, and she didn't ask him to. They stood there in her destroyed living room, two cursed souls holding each other against the dark, while outside, the moon climbed higher in the sky, and the countdown continued its merciless march toward blood and transformation. 28 days left. Part 4. Preparation and Revelation. The next morning, Maya found them in the shop, Sera with bandaged hands, Dominic examining the silver collar with disturbing intensity. Hi?" Maya looked between them, eyebrows raised. "Should I come back later, or?" "Maya, this is Dominic. He's helping me with a research project." It was the worst lie Sera had ever told, but what was she supposed to say? "This is the werewolf descendant who might be able to save me from a centuries-old curse, or might kill me. We're not sure yet." "Right. Research." Maya's expression said she wasn't buying it for a second. "Well, your research buddy should know that collar he's holding." "I found records for it last night. It was commissioned by someone named Nathaniel Ashford in 1825. There's a letter that came with it." Dominic's head snapped up. "Show me." Maya pulled out a yellowed envelope sealed with wax that had somehow survived 200 years. The seal showed a wolf and a moon, Nathaniel's mark. "I didn't open it," Maya said. "Seemed like it might be valuable intact." Dominic broke the seal carefully and unfolded the letter inside. His expression darkened as he read, and Sera watched the color drain from his face. "What does it say?" she asked. He handed it to her without a word. The handwriting was elegant but erratic, as if written by someone on the edge of madness. "To whatever fool finds this collar, it was meant for my Iris, a gift to celebrate our mating bond. I never had the chance to give it to her. Charlotte Whitmore ensured that. I have cursed Charlotte's line with the same agony she inflicted on me. An incomplete transformation, a love that can never be consummated, a death that comes when hope is within reach. But I am not a complete monster. I built in one escape, one possibility of redemption, because Iris would have wanted mercy even for her murderer's descendants. If ever a daughter of Charlotte's line finds a son of my line, and if they can learn to love what they should hate, the curse can be transformed. Not broken, I sealed it too well for that, but changed. Love for love, bond for bond, wolf for wolf. But know this, the price is transformation for both. Neither can remain what they were. The choice must be made under the blood moon, and once made, cannot be undone. I hope you suffer as I have suffered. Nathaniel Ashford. Sera read it twice, her hands trembling. Love for love, bond for bond. It's a trap, Dominic said harshly. He's saying the only way to break the curse is for us to fall in love, and even then, it doesn't break. It just changes us both into something else. It's another punishment disguised as hope. Or, Sera said slowly, it's a genuine escape he created in a moment of clarity, a way out for people who aren't defined by their ancestors' mistakes. You don't understand. The transformation for both means I'd complete my change. I'd become a full werewolf, which might kill me given my corrupted bloodline, and you'd be bound to me forever, unable to be fully human again. As opposed to dying in 27 days as a mindless monster? Dominic turned away, tension radiating from every line of his body. You just met me. You can't possibly want. I don't want anything yet, Sera interrupted. But I want the chance to choose. Isn't that what this whole journey is about? Finding a choice that isn't just death? Maya cleared her throat. I'm just going to be in the back, cataloging, or hiding. Probably hiding. She fled. Dominic finally looked at Sera again, and the expression on his face was raw. You should know something else. That connection we felt when we touched? That's going to get stronger. The curse is trying to fulfill Nathaniel's condition. It's going to push us together, make us feel things that might not be real. Then we'll have to figure out what's real and what's the curse, Sera said. Together. You're too trusting. You're too afraid. They stared at each other, and the air between them crackled with tension. Anger and attraction and fear all tangled together. We leave tonight, Dominic said finally. Pack for 3 weeks in rough conditions. And Sera? Whatever happens on this journey, whatever we find in the mountains, don't fall in love with me. It'll only make the ending harder. After he left, Sera stood alone in her shop, holding Nathaniel's letter and the silver collar. Through the window, she watched Dominic cross the street, his shoulders carrying the weight of generations of guilt. Don't fall in love with him, he'd said. But as she touched the collar and felt that the echo of ancient magic singing through her veins, Sera suspected it might already be too late for both of them. The curse had been waiting 200 years for them to find each other, and now that they had, it wasn't going to let them go. They left Boston under cover of darkness, Dominic's truck loaded with supplies that looked more suited for a military operation than a romantic road trip. Silver weapons, wolfsbane, first aid kits that included industrial-strength sedatives and stacks of yellowed journals written in a dozen languages. The flight to Bucharest leaves at midnight, Dominic said as they merged onto the highway. From there, we rent a car and drive into the mountains. Should take us 4 days to reach the first possible burial site. Sera watched the city lights fade behind them. What happens if we're wrong? If the anchor isn't there? Then we try the second location, and the third. We have 27 days, Sera. We'll use every one of them. The determination in his voice made something in her chest tighten. This man, this near stranger, was betting everything on saving her. A woman whose ancestor had murdered his ancestor's mate. The irony was almost beautiful. Tell me about your family, she said as the miles rolled past. Not the curse, the real one. Dominic was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, my mother died when I was 10. The half-transformation had been getting worse for years, and one full moon, her body just gave out. My father raised me alone, taught me everything about the curse, about hunting, about the duty we owed to end your bloodline mercifully. That's a lot to put on a child. He didn't have a choice. The curse doesn't care about childhood. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. He died 3 years ago. Heart attack, the doctors said, But I think it was the weight of it all. Knowing he'd failed to find you, that the burden would fall to me. I'm sorry. Don't be. He would have killed you without hesitation. At least I'm giving you a chance. The words were harsh, but Sera heard the grief beneath them. Dominic had lost everyone to this curse, his mother, his father, any hope of a normal life. And now he was risking everything for a woman he should hate. What about you? He asked, glancing at her. Family? None. My mother left when I was a baby. I don't even remember her. My father died when I was 6. Car accident. My grandmother raised me, and she was distant, loving, but always holding something back. Now I know why. She was trying to protect you from the truth. She was trying to protect herself from getting too attached to someone she knew she'd lose. Sera stared out the window at the dark landscape rushing past. My whole life, I felt like there was this shadow hanging over everything, like I was waiting for something terrible to happen. Turns out, I was right. Dominic reached across the seat and took her hand. The gesture surprised them both, but neither pulled away. We're going to beat this, he said. You can't promise that. Watch me. What to? First blood. The flight to Bucharest was uneventful, but Sera felt the change accelerating. Her senses sharpened by the hour. She could hear conversations 3 rows away, could smell the fierce sweat of a nervous flyer in first class, could feel the vibration of the engines through her entire body, like a second heartbeat. Dominic noticed. He sat beside her, solid and grounding, and when her eyes flashed gold mid-flight, he simply took her hand and murmured calming words in that ancient language until she could breathe again. It's getting harder to fight it, she whispered. I know, but you're doing beautifully. The word beautifully shouldn't have fit the situation, but somehow it did. They landed as the sun rose over Romania, painting the sky in shades of blood and gold. The rental car was a beat-up Jeep that looked like it had survived several wars, and the drive into the mountains was breathtaking. Ancient forests, winding roads, villages that looked unchanged since medieval times. This is vampire country, Dominic said as they climbed higher. Or at least, that's what the tourists think. The truth is more complicated. Are there actually vampires? Not the Hollywood kind. But there are things in these mountains that are old and hungry. We'll need to be careful. They reached their first destination on the 3rd day, a ruined monastery clinging to a mountainside like a prayer-made stone. The walls were crumbling, overgrown with ivy, and the air smelled of decay and old magic. According to my research, Nathaniel stayed here for 3 months after casting the curse, Dominic said, consulting his journals. The monks recorded strange occurrences, howling at night, livestock torn apart, a guest who screamed in his sleep and bled from wounds that appeared spontaneously. Sounds like he was losing control. He was. The curse corrupted him as much as it did your ancestor. Dark magic always demands payment from the caster. They spent hours searching the monastery ruins, the chapel, the crypts, the cells where monks once slept. Sera felt drawn to certain places, her wolf instincts pulling her toward spots where the magic felt strongest. In the deepest crypt, she found scratch marks on the stone walls, deep gouges that could only have been made by claws. He was here, she breathed. I can feel him. His rage, his grief, it's soaked into the stone. Dominic came to stand beside her, studying the marks. Can you sense the anchor? Any object that might hold the curse's power? Sera closed her eyes and let her heightened senses expand. She smelled earth, rot, stone, and beneath it all, nothing. Whatever had been here was long gone. It's not here, she said, disappointment crushing her chest. He took it with him when he left. Dominic's jaw clenched, but he nodded. Then we moved to the second location. There's still time. That night, they stopped at a small inn in a village whose name Sera couldn't pronounce. The innkeeper, an old woman with sharp eyes, took one look at them and made a sign against evil. Room for 2? She asked in heavily accented English. 2 rooms, Dominic said. The woman shook her head. Only one left. Wedding party took the rest. You take it or you sleep in car. They took it. The room was small, dominated by a single bed that looked like it had been built for people half their size. Sera stared at it, acutely aware of Dominic's presence behind her, of his scent filling the space, pine and smoke and something uniquely him that made her wolf perk up with interest. I'll sleep on the floor, he said. Don't be ridiculous. We can share. We're adults. Sera. Dominic, I've woken up with claws and you've talked me down from transformation twice. I think we're past being awkward about sleeping arrangements. He looked like he wanted to argue, but exhaustion won out. They took turns in the tiny bathroom, and when Sera emerged in her sleep clothes, leggings and an oversized shirt, she found Dominic already in bed, pressed so far to one side he was in danger of falling off. She climbed in beside him, hyper-aware of every point where their bodies almost touched. "Thank you," she said into the darkness, "for everything you're doing." "Don't thank me yet. We haven't found anything." "I'm not thanking you for finding the anchor. I'm thanking you for treating me like a person worth saving instead of a problem to eliminate." Dominic turned to face her, and in the moonlight streaming through the window, his eyes glowed faintly. "You were never a problem, Sera. You were a tragedy waiting to happen, and I've spent my whole life preparing to prevent it. But now that I know you..." He reached out, his fingers barely brushing her cheek. "Now I can't imagine a world where you don't exist." Her breath caught. "That sounds dangerously close to what you told me not to do." "I know." His voice was rough. "I'm a hypocrite, because I'm trying not to fall in love with you, and failing spectacularly." The admission hung between them, weighted with possibility and danger. Sera knew she should pull away, should reinforce the boundaries they needed to maintain. Instead, she moved closer. "What if the curse is right?" she whispered. "What if Nathaniel, in his madness, actually created something beautiful? A way for our bloodlines to heal each other instead of destroying each other? Or what if he created the cruelest trap imaginable, making us fall in love just so he could rip us apart when the transformation fails? Then at least we'll have had this. These moments. This choice." Dominic's hand cupped her face fully now, his thumb tracing her lower lip. "You're too brave for your own good. You're too scared of hope. Hope is how people get destroyed. Fear is how people stop living." They stared at each other, and Sera saw the exact moment he stopped fighting. He leaned in slowly, giving her every chance to pull away, but she met him halfway. The kiss was gentle at first, a question, a possibility. Then it deepened, and Sera felt something inside her shift and settle, like a puzzle piece finding its place. Her wolf, which had been restless and frightened for weeks, suddenly went quiet, content. Dominic pulled back, breathing hard. "That shouldn't have." "Felt right?" Sera finished. "I know, but it did?" "The curse is manipulating us. Or maybe we're two people who understand each other in a way no one else can. Maybe that's not the curse. Maybe that's just us." He kissed her again, harder this time, and Sera felt the wolf in both of them rising, not with violence, but with recognition. Pack finding pack, mate finding mate. When they finally broke apart, Dominic pressed his forehead against hers. "We're playing with fire. I've been burning since this started. At least now I'm not alone." They fell asleep, tangled together, and for the first time since the curse began, Sera's dreams were peaceful. The second burial site was a cave system in the deepest part of the Carpathian range, accessible only by a treacherous hike that took 2 days. Sera's transformation symptoms were worsening. She'd woken up twice with claws, and once she'd actually growled at a hiker who got too close to their camp. 19 days left, Dominic said as they approached the cave entrance. "We need to find it here, Sera. We're running out of time." The caves were vast and ancient, decorated with prehistoric paintings and bones that predated human civilization. But in the deepest chamber, they found signs of recent, relatively speaking, habitation. A stone altar, more scratch marks, and scratched into the wall, a message in English. "I am become death, destroyer of my own line. Let my bones rot here in darkness. Let no one remember Nathaniel Ashford except as a cautionary tale of how love makes monsters of us all." "He died here," Sera said, touching the words. The stone was cold, but she could feel the echo of powerful magic. "This is where he ended. Then the anchor should be here too." Dominic began searching frantically, overturning stones, examining every crack and crevice. Sera let her instincts guide her. She moved to the altar and placed her hands on it. The moment she touched the stone, a vision slammed into her. Nathaniel, skeletal and mad, clutching a small silver box. Inside the box, a lock of dark hair, Iris's hair, the last piece of her he had. He was performing a ritual, weaving the curse into the box, into the hair, creating an anchor that would last for generations. I bind this curse to blood and bone, he howled. Let Charlotte's daughters suffer as I suffer. Let them know the agony of incomplete transformation of love that destroys instead of saves. Wow, what a ride. If you thought the curse, the bloodlines, and the wolf's awakening were intense, just wait until part 2. The journey into the Carpathian mountains, the hunt for the anchor, and the deeper secrets of Sera and Dominic's bloodline are going to take this story to a whole new level. So, make sure you don't miss it. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because subscribing isn't just about watching, it's about supporting the channel and helping us grow, so we can bring you more stories like this one. Trust me, part 2 is coming soon, and you won't want to miss a single moment of it.